Mark Singer embedded himself with NYC tunnel dwellers to create Dark Days, capturing their resilience and struggles on film. The documentary showcases the lives of unhoused individuals living in Manhattan tunnels, challenging stereotypes and highlighting their humanity. Dark Days features innovative cinematography and a fitting soundtrack, shedding light on the issue of homelessness and its enduring relevance. Mark Singer wanted to do something big. After growing up in London, England, then a brief stint finishing high school in Florida, Singer moved to New York City to work as a model. Interested in the lives of Manhattan's unhoused population, Singer found himself spending time with new friends he made within a homeless community, inside encampments they had built for themselves inside Amtrak tunnels under the borough of Manhattan. After about 4 months of building relationships within this community, Singer resolved to document their lives with a film. The documentary was called Dark Days. With no formal training in film and needing to film in an environment that was unsuitable for a formal film crew, Singer used the subjects of his movie as his crew. Ferrying camera equipment down into this dark environment through access stairwells and down sketchy ladders, Singer found help from his new friends in accessing power for lighting and recording sound for his movie. He may not have been a trained filmmaker, but Singer possessed perhaps the most important skill for a documentarian: the ability to embed himself with his subjects and to build the requisite trust for them to comfortably tell their incredible life stories. The story of the underground in Dark Days. The underground homeless population in New York City was nothing new. In fact, these societal outcasts had been making homes out of New York City's subway and Amtrak tunnels for years. Legends had grown around their lives, and derogatory names like mole people began to arise for these social pariahs. But in the film's first scenes, you learn quickly that most people had moved down to the tunnels because it offered a safe haven from the violence and cold winters above. It quickly became apparent that these people weren't necessarily addicts or criminals but well-intentioned cast-offs who had fallen through the financial cracks of a quickly gentrifying city. Singer trained his camera on a few individuals among the larger unhoused community in the Amtrak tunnels. Some had lived there for years, siphoning power off the city grid to give each other haircuts and play music while using buckets as toilets and living among vermin, trying to maintain a sense of self-worth. During filming, these tunnel dwellers were given a 30-day eviction notice by city workers after returning from a normal day of dumpster diving and panhandling in the streets above. Suddenly, the documentary had a clear antagonist. Dark Days is a very well-made documentary. Part of the brilliance of Dark Days is the cinematography, shot on grainy, beautiful black and white film. At one point during filming, Singer made a breakthrough. He fashioned an old manual rail cart as a camera dolly mounted right onto the tracks, which allowed for incredible shots as the camera moved sideways through the tunnels, illuminating the ramshackle encampments and oil drum fires piercing through the darkness. Set to these amazing moving images is a 90s hip-hop soundtrack by the orchestrally minded DJ Shadow, who used piano-based samples and record scratching to compose a score that perfectly fits the film's dark backdrop. Despite rarely being mentioned among the all-time great documentaries, Dark Days may be more enduring in its relevance than almost any film documenting American lives. 20 years after its release, the COVID-19 pandemic created a surge in homelessness in America. Federal officials have estimated that homelessness increased by 12% during the pandemic, as the shutdown pushed many Americans living paycheck to paycheck into tents and encampments littered across the United States. Major cities like Los Angeles and Portland, Oregon, have seen a wave of unhoused citizens pushed under countless freeway underpasses and into Skid Row enclaves, with the fentanyl and amphetamine epidemics casting a pall over American locales, both rural and urban. Dark Days' epicenter, New York City, has suffered from this plague, as well, with more and more individuals and families taking to the streets of a city with little low-income housing and fewer resources for the many unhoused. Dark Days was released in 2000. It won 3 awards at the 2000 Sundance Film Festival: Audience Award, Documentary, Excellence in Cinematography Award, Documentary, and the Freedom of Expression Award. Mark Singer didn't move on to a major filmmaking career because he was a filmmaker by necessity, not by choice. He gave voice to the suffering of his friends, and the film's crescendo gave a happy ending to a select few of those he came to know inside those tunnels, but they were an exception to the rule. 10 years after the film's release, Oscilloscope Laboratories revamped the film and gave it a wider release. Adam Yauch, of Beastie Boys fame, who helped create Oscilloscope, recognized the film's importance. In 2011, Mark Singer was interviewed for the 10th anniversary of Dark Days' release, saying, "I'm not really afraid of the unknown, so what's the worst that's going to happen? The worst that's going to happen is that you're going to die, in any situation, and if you're not afraid of that, then there's not really much to hold you back." That intrepid spirit led to one of the great and undersung documentaries of the 2000s, one that deserves much more recognition today. Stream Dark Days on Peacock.